Live. We are live.
Hey, we are live. We're still alive. Everybody's still alive here. Good to see you're still alive, Chris.
I feel good. How do you feel?
I'm great, but it's good to be back. I know we had a couple
Yes.
of weeks that we missed. You were under the weather and everything else.
I was
Holidays.
definitely ill, man.
But welcome back to Campfires and Catholes, everybody. I am your host, Brian, with my co-host, Chris, that hiking guy.
Hello. Welcome.
So we have a great show for you guys, and I'm so excited. Our guest tonight is going to be Andy from Metro on the Move, and if any of you know him, he is high energy, and it's been a while since we've talked, so it'd be a good catch-up session.
Since
When was that? Like October.
Yeah.
So before we get into that, we're going to do some housekeeping and talk about a little trip we had this past weekend together with some friends. So Chris and I and our buddy Hoot on the trail, he joined us, and he brought a friend, Bobby, and we planned, Bobby Scouts. Go follow him on Instagram. Awesome dude. He's pretty talented, actually, like a independent film director, and I don't know what all he's done. Yeah, he's awesome.
He is awesome.
Too much to list. But we went down out to Charles C. Deem as usual, and went to go to a place that Chris and I call the Pine Grove. We hadn't been there about 3 years, and ended up rolling up on a guy that was there in the spot that we had planned to be in. He'd been there on Friday night, and he said he was getting ready to leave, but we kind of started hanging out and talking to him, and we just invited him to stay with us.
You're glossing over a very important point here.
That he recognized us.
He was going to leave, but then he looked across the creek and he said, THG, what are you doing here?
Yeah, it was something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
But anyway, so we got to talking to him, and he was a super cool dude, and he ended up just hanging out the rest of the weekend with us. So great trip. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Bobby is new to the backpacking world and didn't really have a lot of gear, but he brought a lot of extra super heavy stuff from the military
gear. Yeah.
He said tent, what tent? I don't need your ultralight tents. Built his own shelter out there, which we did take down, and we did remove everything and left it as we found it. I knew there was going to be some people that seen the pictures of that and was going to ask, but yes, we did. And we informed him to make sure he knew the leave no trace principles in that. Absolutely. He didn't cut anything down. So it was all good there. But
I did some bushcrafting.
Yeah, Chris made a rocket stove. I don't know. It was a great trip. It was just what we needed just to get out in the cold and freeze. I got a new tent, tried that out. Yeah, typical weekend in the woods. Right, Chris?
Yeah. I had I mean, it's the first trip of 23. I had been in the house since December 15th. I didn't leave the house, and I needed to get out. And you were stressed out, losing more hair. So yeah, we had to get out. I don't
have any hair to lose. Yeah, I'm out, fresh out of hair to lose. But yeah, I just need you need that time in the woods once in a while. So looking in the chat, looks like we've got the usual suspects. I see Tony from Hoosier Outdoor, Tanya. Hey Todd, Jeremy's here. Hooks and Hammocks is here. What are you?
Wow,
you sick? You're joining us tonight.
Doing a live at this time, or some really good acting. Before we go any further, I want to say that since Tanya is in the chat, so Tanya is pretty much a sponsor of our show, and she's really done solid for us. I want to show her. I want to show her Etsy shop when we get started here. I want to show. She makes soap, and she makes the best soap in the world, and she's got beard oil. She's got all kinds of other things. So go over there to Etsy at the Water Maple Soap Company and check her out. And I say all that to show this. She has created for us some soap. Now, if you're listening on the audio, I'm holding up our soap. It is the Campfires and Catholes official soap. And I talked to Tanya today. She's going to try to make another batch, and we're going to if people want to order this from her site, you can, but not until we let you know it's ready. But yeah, here's our soap, Campfires and Catholes. Got the little poo on the top.
Because we all know like hikers are dirty and stinky, so that's right. A need. Soap is a need. We're all a little grungy, hiker trash. How's it smell, Chris?
I don't know because I still don't have my smell back from COVID.
But doesn't she have like the description on there what it should smell like?
Cedar, smoke, amber, and pine is what it smells like. She says it smells like sitting by a campfire, and that's not the same kind of campfire like when Carlson's farting around a campfire. This actually
You wouldn't
smells
want
good.
that. Perfect.
So I just want to get that out there.
So we also got in the chat, we got Nick from Smoky Bees Natural. Good to see you, man. Mark Sloan's Wilderness Expeditions. Tom, Following Walker's World. Like I said, the usual suspects. So tonight, guys, we're going to take a little page off of KeelQuest. Chris and I were just on last Thursday, and I think they did something pretty smart. So if you have a question, put it in the chat and make it all caps. That way it'll grab our attention. A lot of times we're trying to keep the show going and acknowledge you guys in the chat as well, and it gets to be a lot more cumbersome than I ever thought it would be. I do like that aspect of it, the interaction with the guys in the chat, but put it at all caps if you have questions for Andy tonight or for either one of us, and hopefully we will see your question and get it asked. Mike says, let us know when it goes up for sale. I'll buy some campfire soap. Right on, Mike. Glad you could. Yeah, glad you made it.
Yeah, well, put it on caps, and
all
that helps
caps.
me. That helps me when I'm looking at the chat, and I can look away from my Tetris on my phone, and I can get to your question.
Is that what you're doing over there, Tetris?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, anyways, so why wait any longer? Let's get this party started. I want to bring to you a backpacker extraordinaire, a rock star, if you didn't know it, and just an all-around great guy. Super high energy. Bring him in. Andy Miller from Metro on the Move.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. How's everyone doing?
Right, bro? Good, man. How you doing?
I am excited to be here tonight, and I am doing very well. I've been sick for a few weeks, and I'm just glad that that's all been kind of going away, but excited to be here tonight. Lots of great things in store for 2023, and I'm, again, excited to catch up with you guys on today's episode. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited.
Absolutely, man. Glad we could finally, pull it together. So,
right.
Anyways, so what you been up to, man? You been on any hiking trips lately? What you got going on lately?
Recently I met up with Crow, Terry Young Outdoors, Gone Pharaoh Squidly, Senior Hiker 77, and Atypical Hiker on the PMT. Those guys were doing a yo-yo, which was an out and back. So they did the Pine Mountain Trail twice. So it's about 46 miles that they did. They might have had a little bit of story change up in the mix with some of them, but that was what Crow did from start to finish. So congratulations on.
How long is that?
It's 23 miles one way, so 46 miles total if you did a yo-yo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't do
that.
I saw a video from Jason Wall. He did it as well, and I've seen your videos of it. But man, that trail just looks beautiful. It looks like it has some great views.
Oh, so here we go. There's two Pine Mountain Trails.
Okay.
There's one up in Kentucky.
And I didn't know that. I thought he was doing the one you were doing.
No.
Well, just say the one in Georgia is kind of like an AT speed bump. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're getting into the Appalachians because it's part of that same chain, like the Pinhoti, the Pine Mountain Trail, and then the Appalachian Trail. It's kind of like the little remnants. So Pine Mountain is like a speed bump kind of deal.
So do you guys, okay, well, then that makes sense then. I guess I got them confused. Well, they both look beautiful. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Great
yeah,
spots.
so the Pine Mountain Trail you're thinking of, Chris, is the one that Nick from Smoky Bees Natural was talking about when we had him on.
Smoky Bees.
So that's the one that Jason Wall did it too. So it's a different Pine Mountain Trail.
Well, see,
in Georgia.
I'm a bad hiker.
In fact, Smoky Bees just chimed in and said, Kentucky is better. And I agree. It is better. I saw your video. I saw Jason's video, and it is better. So, congratulations.
There you go. You got a better trail. Woohoo.
Yeah, whatever. I go there all the time.
You win. Fine. Anyways, man, like I said, it's been good to see you and get caught up. We haven't got to hang out and really talk since the YouTube meetup there in the Red River Gorge, speaking of Kentucky. So, yeah, man. Yeah. That's always a fun time as well. I just remember quick story on that. The first night you got there, you drove up, hiked all day, everything else. When you got to camp, you were sitting there and you were beat. You looked like a zombie, and you weren't your normal bubbly self. And Chris is like, man, is
what's wrong with Andy?
I was like, what do you mean? He's like, he's just kind of quiet. He's like, is he all right? I was like, he's probably just tired. And I remember us asking you, like, oh yeah, man, I was just wasted. So wasted, tired.
Well, I remember. I mean, there was a lot of personalities in the room that night.
Oh,
and if you looked in any corner, there was a lot of things happening, conversations, and other people were dancing around the fire. In other words, like kind of like taking the mic, right? So I am a loud personality, and sometimes I can be a little, a little bit overbearing, whatever. But I wanted to, make sure I wasn't like taking the stage and letting everybody do their thing. I mean, yeah, the next day I was loud and,
You
I
were.
was out.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, came in second day, I was right
And he
there
was back.
I think we commented the second day too. We were like, okay, he's fine.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun though. It was great to see both of you guys. I mean, that's always a great trip. So many characters were there for that. I mean,
man.
I couldn't believe just the amount of personalities in just a small little area. It was so awesome.
It turned up to 11.
Yeah, I think I made the comment. I was like, man, if something would happen to all of us right here, like a meteorite hit, like YouTube would lose like a third of its outdoor creators. It's like there was like, well, I think we had 27 people there or something. That was crazy.
Yeah.
So good times though.
Hey, let's get some shout outs. It looks like Mike Ghost is in the house. What's up?
Oh, yeah.
Sloan's Wilderness
Jeremy?
Expeditions. We got Jeremy from All Things Outdoors, Tanya Browning. Man, thank you guys for being here. We also got Tom from Wild Walkers World. All right. What's going on?
Senior hiker just hopped in.
Hey, what's up, my friend? Hello, my friends.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So let's get to the makings of Andy.
Yeah.
Right? Ooh.
Oh,
Dark
man, I
Beginnings.
didn't know it was going that deep tonight.
Oh, we're
my
going
goodness.
deep. So we're going to need your place of birth, your social security number.
Yeah, we're not doing that. That's not happening for sure. Especially right after tax season. Hell no.
Right. And I kid. But so when I first found your channel and got to know you, I had dug back. I always like to go back and see like we all progress, and hopefully if we all get better. I'm an exception. I definitely do not get better in my videos,
you've
but
gotten much better.
but it's always cool to like see, like sometimes I'm like, wow, did I really put that out? So when I first met you and got to know your videos and that, I started scrolling back and I was like, holy crap, there's a whole nother side of Andy. Not only is he a backpacker, but a pretty damn good singer, my friend. Right? So you were in a couple bands, eh?
Yeah. So that dates back way back, but some of the videos on there are probably from the mid 2000 era. But to go down the path of the music timeline, I started playing in bands when I was very young. I'd say probably I was playing shows around 16, 17. And that was in the early 90s, mid 90s when skate punk rock was real big. Like I opened up for bands like Unwritten Law, AFI, Less Than Jake, just to name a few. But it was like something that was going on every weekend. We had a huge crowd. It was fun. It was like a punk rock show. So it was like that angst, skate rock, whatever. And we lived out in California for a little bit. Played up and down the strip in Hollywood, believe it or not. And then I decided to go back to college, so I kind of broke up the band, right? So I was like,
You were the Yoko.
Well, not
no.
Yoko. I mean, Yoko was like, I'm the star. I was like, yo, listen, I'm living in Hollywood, and it's scary out here. Like, let me give you a perspective of Hollywood, right? It sounds glamorous, but it's only for a few people. Like, most people don't make it because they don't have the right connections or whatever. So you imagine all the people that go out there.
Yeah.
And they don't make it. Where do they go? They're working in the clubs and all that, but they're out all night, and you hear all kinds of sad stories. Like what really broke it up for me was when I was I was at the Rainbow Room. You know what the Rainbow Room is?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's right next to the Roxy, and it's like 3:00 in the morning, and there's this guy. He's probably in his mid-50s, and he's talking to us. We're in our 20s. Like, yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna get you these shows. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And what did you do before you were in this role? He's like, oh, I used to be in a band. And I was like, then what happened? He's like, well, then I got to work for the company. And then I became this guy. And I was like, don't you have a family? Don't you have people to go home just late as heck, And he's like, nah, man, this industry will eat you up. So I looked at it as, oh, okay, if I'm in this is going to be my lifestyle. I'm not saying it's the worst, but you're out kind of seeing all kinds of sad stories and Hollywood stuff. Went back to school and then got into another band. And that was called Unknown Soul.
Soul, yep.
Yeah, and we started doing good in the Atlanta scene. We recorded a couple albums, and then there it is. I've been caught with my shirt
There's your
off.
nipples.
That was taken at the local the Atlanta Music Festival.
Yeah,
one of your videos from there.
They're pierced, by the way, if you want to pull that picture back up. Visual piercing.
You bet I do.
Okay. So yeah, if you just zoom in, you'll probably see there's a little ring there. Like that's definitely what that is there. But anyway, so that was
You're welcome.
the Fred was it was some sort of concert. Anyway, there's a live video on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out. Obviously, that's where the picture came from. As soon as I graduated, I got a job in California, so that was kind of like the end of the music industry. But I could have done it. I just was like, I really need to pay back these student loans, and I like, living in a house, my own house, having my own car, not being in a van and hanging out in a 2-bedroom apartment with you guys. It's just like, you want to take a break. So that's the story about the stuff.
Chris went somewhere. I don't know where he went. Anyways, we don't need him.
Okay, cool. Maybe he's like taking a break.
Right. I don't know what happened to him. But
oh, sorry.
Here he comes.
The story made me tear up. I had to leave for a second.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I saw. So was Secret Sauce another one of your bands?
Oh, busted. Yeah.
And-
so Secret Sauce was like a cover act band. So we did anything from like Journey to Jimmy Eat World. So it was kind of like a cover act. It was more like pay to play. They paid us. We'd show up for 3.5 hours and perform. But that was a lot of fun. Used to drink a lot though.
And then Super Bees.
Oh, Superbs. That was
Superbs.
So
okay.
That was in the
Superbs,
late 90s,
whatever.
early 2000, like 96 to 2002.
Gotcha. See, man, at least I've got the bands. Pronounced the one wrong, but
That's all right.
I do my research.
Let me show that other picture.
The other
'Cause
picture I pulled.
This is a
I want to
young
see if
Andy.
I want to see if Andy knows where this one came from.
Oh my goodness!
Look at
Yeah,
that.
Right?
So yeah, I definitely remember that. We were playing a show with Fozzy. Do you guys know who Fozzy is?
The bear?
No.
You guys know who Chris Jericho is?
Yeah,
Yes, you were in that clip about Chris Jericho.
Yeah, so we were performing a show, Ralph, and then WWF was doing a special out front, and they were like, "Hey, you know anything about Chris Jericho?" And I was like, "I just seen some pay-per-view." I wasn't a real big wrestling fan, so I was like, "Yeah," they're like, "He did this, and he smashed him, and he went crazy," and all of a sudden they're like, "Yeah, that's going to be awesome." And then I had no idea that footage got put on a video, right? And then like years later, like, "I seen your video, man. I seen you." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Chris Jericho, dude?" I was like, "No, man, I don't like wrestling." He was like, "No, you're on this." And they show it to me, and so
Yep.
yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. That was in front of an old club called the Tabernacle in Atlanta, which is a huge venue a lot of people go to, and just so happened to be a random crossing. Had no idea it was on that video for years. It was fun.
Yeah,
awesome,
that's just
though. That's a great story.
That's just some of the stuff that I found going through your YouTube, and that I thought it was interesting. Like Chris said, he had no idea you were a musician, and I'm like, yeah, man. Of course, we've hiked a little bit together and talked and stuff, but
Yeah.
so just interesting, man. It's like we all have a crazy past somewhere, right? Something we did crazy. So
Yeah.
so let's get into the meat and taters of hiking and backpacking, man.
Sounds
So
good.
what got you into that? I mean, obviously you probably come from LA back to. So you originally from Georgia before you moved to LA, or?
No, I don't want to give up my place of birth, like you said at the beginning of this actual birth. Let's just say
Right.
I'm from Southern California, is where I was born, bro.
Right.
Right off PCH, bro. I used to, skateboard, surf, all that stuff. But my parents were missionaries, lived around the world, and then I landed in Georgia. I'm married to a Southern belle, so I'm stuck. I'm staying in the South forever. That's
Right.
no more California. This is where I live. So.
Right on. So did living in Georgia, is that kind of what got you into the outdoors?
So when I was younger, I was in Royal Rangers, which is like it's like if you imagine like the Christian version of Boy Scouts, right? My parents were missionaries. So Royal Rangers was all about like survival techniques and surviving in the woods and doing all kinds of. Young kid bringing up in that kind of environment. Always loved being out in the woods. So through that, got into camping at a very young age and got exposed to some of the North Georgia mountains. And that's where I kind of got acclimated, I knew where to go, And as I got older, the band stuff kind of took priority, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm in a band, I'm partying, I don't need to be in the woods. And also back then, backpacking stuff is very expensive. And when people are like, "Oh, I spent all this money to put stuff in a bag," I was like, "No, why'd you do that? Like, give me the money and I'll give you a bag and put some stuff in it." But no, that's not how it works. And then, so if you're watching the YouTube channel, you'll see how there is a very big difference of how the videos were looking. Kind of funny stuff when YouTube first came out, then the music stuff, and then some trips to Hong Kong, and then you saw the secret stuff, and then you don't see any more bands. You don't see. I saw a friend of mine kind of pass away suddenly, and because, in fact, I saw him pass away in front of me, I should say. And then once you see some of the light go out of someone's eyes, it kind of gives you a sense of mortality. And I wanted to stop, being in bars and playing shows and doing all that kind of late night stuff and kind of take advantage every day. And I really rekindled that passion for hiking. So I started going out and going to the same places I used to, up in the North Georgia mountains. And then, right around that, it was 2015, right? So right around that time frame, I guess, is when the boom started happening with the hiking stuff. I was just shooting stuff because I was like, oh, I'm going through some stuff, and I'm just trying to find places to hike because I wanted to share these places because it still was kind of remote. All Trails wasn't really there. It was not a lot of resources that you could easily access to tell you where to go hiking. So I went through that motion, figured it out, and wanted to share through my videos on places to hike. Then 2016, 17, that's when all the YouTubers really started coming out with the hiking channels. And I was like, wow. Oh, in fact, got a chance to meet Darwin amongst several others through just general hiking. I'm just a section hiker, but I live by the AT, and I'm out there all the time. So I've met Ivy Tat out on trail. I've met all kinds of people.
Yeah, I saw your pictures with him and with
Mischief on the trail and all kinds of people because I'm right there. And then I've also been very fortunate to be introduced to people like Donald from the Further Shuttle Appalachian, the Grateful Hiker, Mary, the shuttle driver, because they introduced me to all the spots, picked me up, helped me get those section hikes done in AT, but I also got to meet some of their network. And now I'm kind of like a local, even though I'm Metro Atlanta area. I go up there and I'm, treated like family by everyone on the AT. So I was very fortunate for that. So that's kind of like how that bloomed into my channel. And then I'm just creating videos, places to hike. And that's how that all came
So would you say then that the outdoors and getting back into hiking really helped you make the transition out of that party lifestyle and into a more outdoor, you went back to your first, love kind of thing?
Yeah. So on that note, so when I first said, why are you going to buy a bag and put expensive stuff in it, well, I had bought a bag and put a bunch of expensive stuff in it, and I'm hiking, and I was actually up on one of the mountains on AT. I was on Horace Gap around that area, and I was a smoker back then, and I was having a hard time breathing, and because of that, I was like, okay, here's the facts. You're either going to have to quit smoking and enjoy your backpacking stuff, or you're going to have to quit backpacking and just throw that away. And I was like,
you're smoking.
I spent too much money on this. I'm going to quit cigarettes. So I quit cigarettes, saved a bunch of money and spent more on gear.
That's how it goes.
Definitely. So you kind of rolled into my next question is like, how did you get the name Metro on the Move? Pretty much.
Well,
I mean, if you want to go explain a little more, but.
Yeah. So obviously I'm from the Metro Atlanta area. And I like nicer things. Let's say I'm like super well groomed or anything or driving fancy car. I'm from the Metro Atlanta area, but I'm up in the mountains and I'm at a shelter, and I'm just talking about random places that I like to hike with some of the people that are at the shelter. And like, oh, you know a lot about the North Georgia mountains, man. You from around here? I'm like, no, I'm from Atlanta. Like, oh, you one of them Metros? And I was like,
that's good stuff.
I will take that since you said it. And you gave it to me. Technically, I'm going to just apply that. So it's kind of like I was given a trail name in an indirect way, I guess, in some aspect.
Yeah. So, how did you come up with your signature catchphrase?
Let's keep moving. Oh my gosh! So if you've watched my videos, I was just trying to come up with a tagline, but I used to be brutal with that outro stuff. At first, I didn't really have my face in the videos. I really wasn't talking. I really wasn't like, hey, I'm on the channel, look at me, whatever I do now, kind of. But back then it was just more like time lapse and doing more nature shots. And then, I was like, oh, well, I need to start talking. I was like, subscribe and notification bell and
Call to action stuff. Yeah.
Let's keep moving, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe I need to work on that. So if you found any value in this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and send me your comments.
And now you got it down, right? Now you got it.
Let's keep moving.
Well, that's right. So keeping on moving. So you're local to the AT. I know you have a bunch of miles on the AT. So how much, like start to finish, like if you were section hiking, how far north have you gone so far?
Okay, so I haven't gone past Damascus, and that's and my father-in-law is the same. I've just been piecing things together, mainly because I would like to be a full-time YouTuber hiker, but I am an executive, believe it or not. I work in advertising, and my schedule kind of calls me to go to random places at random times. So that's why it's hard for me to make plans. And so a lot of my stuff is very spontaneous. But to answer your question, not past Damascus. I have been to the Whites, and I've hiked up there, but I don't consider that like what I did. It was kind of like a hiking trip that was part of it. So it doesn't really count, but I got to experience that. My goal is to patch it up. I would like to say that one day I will become a thru hiker. There's an opportunity for that, but it's contingent on a very horrible thing, which I hope doesn't happen, which is to lose my job. If I lost my job, had some time, well, that's a different story.
Sure.
But I'll go like, hey, hey, hon, I've decided that I'm going to quit my job and I want to just not make money and hope it all works out for us. And I'll be back in 6 months. It's like, I don't think that's going to work either.
Hope this YouTube thing pans out, honey.
Yeah. Well, you do work hard at it. You work very hard at it.
I need to see your feet.
Yeah, you know what though? When it comes to YouTube, like if I had any, advice to give, it's like, listen, if you're doing it to document your life and to organize your thoughts and to share what you were into and it's you, and do that. But if you're like, oh, I'm gonna be famous, it's like, for who? And doing what?
Right.
And it's like, if you're gonna be famous, you're gonna have to be like, beat Quadzilla. Oh, I'm gonna do all 3 long distance hikes in a year. It's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be famous for stuff like that. That'll kill me. And then it's like, be famous for what? Oh, I'm a wild personality that gives away all this money. It's like, well, don't you want to keep some of that money? It's like,
it's funny. What I have found is that the more passionate you are about what you're doing, people flock to it anyway, because a lot of people, they're living through you and they're living through your passions. And I can tell that you're passionate about backpacking and hiking. Yes. And that really does come through in your videos. So I think you're doing the right thing.
I hope so. And, it's going to be 3 years that I've done a video every single week.
Whew.
Every week for 3 years. And oh my gosh, I'm just like, how do I get my thought? I mean, as you can relate, it's you have to constantly be saying, I'm going to do this. And then I have to go shoot this. And then I have to review it and then edit it and then bounce it down and then put it out there and promote it. It's like, and you have to do rinse, repeat over and over again. So again, it drives you to make sure you're consistent and you have that record. I'm happy that I have over 500 videos, but it's just like,
that's awesome.
Wow, it's a lot of videos.
That's no small feat. I mean, it takes time to build up that library.
Yeah. It was,
so real quick in the chat, Senior Hiker and Terry, we will get to the Subway story. Trust me. We will get to that. I promise you. That will not be left out of tonight's show. Oh yeah, they're all want to talk. We'll get there, boys. Don't worry, we got that one covered. So
it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah. So Damascus and all that stuff. I didn't know if you'd like hiked it in sections, kind of like what I'm trying to attempt to do.
Yes,
but
in sections, but never in a consistent patterns. All
I will say your knowledge of the AT blew me away. Like Chris, and you can relate to this. And as much as we go to the Deem and how well we know the Charles C. Deem Wilderness, like that's how Andy knows the AT in that section on there. When just the day and a half I was hiking with him, he's like, so yeah, like on this day, you're probably going to hit me around this mile marker and this big hill and this mountain here, and this one's going to kick your ass. And I was just like, I had it like I knew exactly what I was going to do the rest of the hike. Like he knows that section incredibly well, and I appreciate you. Last year was fun, and maybe this year, who knows? So if we can pull it all together, but. Yeah, it was amazing. Your AT knowledge is pretty cool. And all the surrounding stuff, too. I've watched your video about Mount, how do you pronounce it, Yonah? Is that correct?
Yep. Mount Yonah.
Okay. So that one is kind of like one I want to go down and hit one of these days. That one looks really interesting too. Because when you're on it, what mountain are you looking at? Is it Blood Mountain you can see from the other side, or am I wrong on that?
You can actually see the entire beginning of the Appalachian Trail from Mount Yonah. You can see it like gradually come up. You can see Blood Mountain. You can see Cow Rock. You can see all of those overlooks that you would see on the AT. And in the AT, in turn, you can also see Yonah. So most of the time when you're creeping up, you can see that in the distance. The most awesome part about it is that sunset, though. It is bar none the best sunset I have seen in half of my life.
Well,
it's up there,
told me
top 5.
You had told me too, like you said, Cow Rock made me think about. You're like, hey man, you definitely want to get up there in the morning to see the sunrise on that. So we tried to get up there, the group I was hiking with, and it was just kind of, we were just a little bit behind the clock on the sunrise, but we got there and it was all kind of fogged in. I was like, oh man, and we stand there kind of, taking a break for a second. And next thing you know, like the clouds just all moved. We saw a little bit of the sunrise and then they kind of came back in. So it gave us a shot of that. And man,
Teaser.
that is a view you don't want to miss if anybody ever gets down there and hikes the Georgia section in AT. Cow Rock was killer.
Well, there's something I'll share with you. If you come back, we'll do Yonah, but I also want to show you, we could do this probably in the same day or the same trip. Down the street when you get to Tesnity Gap, and if you went northbound up to Cow Rock, when you get to rock itself, it's kind of a small-ish rock face. You're like, oh, this isn't so big. During the winter months, you can cut down to the left if you're going northbound, or to the right before you get to that point. And there's a trail that goes down. I actually had that in my last video, what I did with from Hogpen to Needle Gap. It shows this huge open overlook. It's like the perfect spot. I'm sure it'll be really windy, but in terms of views and where it's at, it is incredible. So I can't wait to show that to you next time you come as well. And again, you can see Yonah and all the great stuff in the distance.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
How about that climb up Hogpen Gap, huh? Whew.
Coming into Hogpen Gap, from Tesnity, up Wildcat Mountain. That is not no joke. Most people call it. I'm not going to say what it said.
Yeah, that kicked my ass.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult hike. And also up there too on Wildcat, there's a huge. Did you go to the Whitley Gap shelter? Did you stay there?
No, I didn't go out to the Whitley because we kind of got off right there at Tesnity and then went to because they had tornadoes coming in, and then we got shuttled back the next morning. So I started my morning going up like out of Hogpen Gap.
Yeah,
so,
I remember
good
seeing
times.
that in your video. Yeah, so that's another cool place. Again, I'll show you if you missed that. There's a great overlook going down towards Whitley Gap. If you go up to Wildcat, it is incredible. Definitely want to show you that spot as well.
Awesome. So along with the AT, we know that's an awesome trail in Georgia. Do you have like what would you say the best hike in Georgia is, or do you have a favorite one? I know you hit a million of them, but
so most of them are going to be on the AT just because of you're going to get the views, right? And in some sections, and my favorite section is going southbound from Hogpen into Needle Gap. That is my first section hike that I see is great. And the second would be from Needle Gap into Woody Gap. So both of the top 5, those are 2 that are going to be on there. I like that Mount Yonah hike, but that's kind of an up and back kind of thing. It's not really a trail.
Right.
The Pine Mountain Trail would obviously be on that list as well. And, I would say Jack's River Falls is another great place to hike as well. So those would be my top 5 right off the bat in terms of hikes that I would recommend in Georgia to anyone that's getting started in backpacking. If you're going to do some of these hikes, though, especially on the AT, as Carlson can tell you firsthand, though, they can be a little ambitious. So, you may want to go out first before you start backpacking on the AT just to kind of get your feel for it. Even with Mount Yonah, it's not an easy hike, and if you're bringing up all of your gear plus your water, it's a dry camp, it can get kind of taxing as well. So those, just be careful. And the Pine Mountain Trail, that to me is a great starter trail to start on if you're going to hike the AT. So if you are working up to doing some stuff on the AT, make sure you start the PMT, the Pine Mountain Trail, and I think that you'll like it.
That's
Also,
one in Georgia.
one in Georgia.
Okay.
Senior Hiker is commonly out there. So obviously, if you're going to be heading to the Pine Mountain Trail, make sure you reach out to Senior Hiker because he loves to meet all the YouTubers and such that come through. Definitely reach out.
And you said that I was going to ask you about the Pine Mountain Trail. We've kind of got into. You said that's a 23-mile each way,
Yep.
Correct? Okay.
Yep.
So you can yo-yo it or shuttles or have somebody park on each side.
Speaking of yo-yo, we can tell a little bit of the story. I ran into Crow and Terry Young Outdoors and Squidly, Senior Hiker 77 and Atypical, but a few of them were doing a yo-yo, and that's 23 miles one way, so that's 46 miles to kind of give you the beginning of that story. So that's a lot right there. I know that some of them may have jumped around a little bit, but some of them did the yo-yo fully, so that was hats off to them, especially Crow.
Yeah.
Wait, is that in one? Did they do that in a couple of days or?
They did it over a weekend. So
Okay.
they started on like a Friday and then Friday, Saturday, and then ended up on a Sunday. You can do the through in a day. I wouldn't recommend it. So I would say if you're going to push it, I would not recommend doing it. I would say go halfway, camp, and do the other half. It's still, again, if you want to be like, oh, I did it in a day, it's like, yeah, you're going to feel like crap too. It's like,
right.
Still,
I've done things like that before.
Yeah. Terry said he's so tired.
Yeah, exactly. They wore them out. I wouldn't want to do it. That tells me anything.
No. So, bucket list hike. You've hiked all over Georgia. I know. I mean, I had somebody at work ask me, "Hey, I'm going with some friends this year down in Georgia, and we're gonna do try to see all these waterfalls. You got any you recommend?" Like I know anything about Georgia. I said, "I know somebody who can." So I kind of sent them to your channel about it because you've best waterfalls. You got a ton of waterfall videos. So, but outside of Georgia, what would be? Do you have like a bucket list hike that if this, you had your choice, you would do?
Yeah. So I guess I would start with what I would do if I was not working, right?
There you go. Sure.
And then take it to the bucket list. The first thing that I would do is I would probably hike the Pinhoti Trail. And I would start at Springer and then do the connector trail with the Benton Mackay to Pinhoti, and then do the Pinhoti all the way to Flag Mountain. Reason being is then I would have a direct line that connected everything up to where I stopped, right? And then from there, I would go and hike the Foothills Trail, right? To kind of see if I still want to be up in the Appalachians, because it's kind of different environments, right? But if I wasn't still working at that point, then I would go do the Foothills Trail, get that knocked out. And then if I still wasn't able to find opportunities, then I would hunker down and say, I'm going to commit to the 4 months that it would take me to go from, I would say that Bly Gap and just continue on from there. Because what I would like to do is flip-flop at the very end and come back into Georgia as kind of like I could do it one way, but I kind of want to just do it like that to kind of bring myself back home, back to reality. Because at that point, I'd be done and I would have to go back to work.
Finish at home. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the plan for now. Like that's kind of giving me like the silver lining of life, how I want to look at things, the positive thing. So then the moving forward stuff, I would probably want to do the PCT from start to finish going southbound, just because of how beautiful that landscape is. It's a different experience. The Appalachian Trail, I'd say, is more friendly, and more welcoming to hikers, and it's more hiker culture oriented. And again, appreciate the business coming through these rural towns. You go to the West Coast, it's like, everybody's somebody, and your problems are not their problems, and so you'll be kind to an extent, but you're pretty much on your own. I would not say you're going to get that culture. So the bucket list would be the PCT, but only after I'd finished the East Coast stuff, and then I would probably drift over to CDT just to complete it. But these are all dreams,
right?
And of course I've got smaller hikes like the Art Loeb Trail that I want to do and things like that. Obviously smaller ones. Yeah. But that's kind of like what the next plan is for me.
Yeah, you named a couple that are on my list: Foothills Trail and Art Loeb Trail. I've been looking at those a lot, and then, like you said, the PCT. I've always been, I guess, when I got into hiking, you hear about the AT the most. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. Kind of fell in love with that trail. And now that I'm actually have done a little section and can do some more, it's like, I love it. But the more I watch like guys that do the PCT, I'm like, Damn, that's pretty
There's
appealing too,
there's
because
less
it's,
infrastructure were there, right?
yeah, but I mean the views. I mean both have
Way-
incredible views, but the
way
views they're
different.
so different. Yeah, they're so
Yeah.
different. Like especially when you get up in Northern California and into Oregon and Washington. I mean, it's just I've been watching. I don't know if you guys follow Jupiter.
Yep.
Jupiter Hikes. I've been watching his PCT videos, and man, he's in Washington now, just starting. Dude, there are some awesome views out there. It's mind blowing. So I don't know. You never know. I might hit the PCT up one of these days. But
JMT. We're going to do
So-
JMT.
we are going to do. We're trying to plan it together. JMT in 2025. Chris and I and some other people have talked about it. So yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the Pinhoti Mafia. The newest member, Terry Young, just joined us. If you haven't heard of his channel, make sure you check that out. So I'm saying Pinhoti. Jabin Hikes is another great channel. Make sure you check him out. Does a lot of great drone footage stuff, a lot of aerial footage of the Pinhoti. Love that. Leonidas on the Trail Beast. If you hike with him, he could be your shuttle driver because not only could he hike
He'll
with you,
get
he'd
there
hike
first.
back, get the
Yeah.
car, and then pick you up by the time you get there. Stretch and as the crow flies, hiking, and not to forget Gone Feral with Squidly. That's my Pinhoti Mafia, and also the new honorary member that was inducted at Pinhoti Fest, Senior Hiker 77. So big shout out to those guys. Just want to.
A lot of
What's
them
up,
in the
guys?
chat. Yeah.
I don't even have to like script this. Like you're just going right down my list. It's hilarious if we talk about stuff. So my next question is going to be, so can you, for those who don't know, can you kind of tell what the Pinhoti Trail is, like point A to point B, where it runs through, how many miles, and then explain like what the Pinhoti Mafia is and what your guys' goal there is.
Yeah, so the Pinhoti is over 300 miles. I don't want to be quoted on the exact because they've been doing some extensions and stuff of that nature. It's on the Appalachian Train in terms of the mountains, but it does not connect. We don't want to have them connect. We want to keep them separate, but available and accessible the way it is. Like I talked about how Springer, you get on the Benton Mackay and then you jump on the Pinhoti. I like having the separateness of it. I don't want it to be one big long trail because it kind of takes away from the cultures of the mountain people and such. If you think about if you do a through hike on the Pinhoti and you start, not everybody's going to finish, but those people on the beginning and the end, they're going to see a lot of business from people that are traveling through. If you started at Pinhoti, that would also impact the businesses of the AT because you think about all of those people that service the first 100 or 200, 300 miles where all those people quit. That's their livelihood. So you want to kind of keep those cultures separate and have those attractions there.
Makes sense.
So over 300 miles, it starts in starts in Flag Mountain, Alabama, and goes northbound to into Georgia. And again, you can access that northern terminus from the Benton Mackay Trail and some other really random, hard to get to areas. It's not the most easy places to get to on either one of the terminuses, but it is part of the Appalachian Trail in terms of the mountain line. Goes from Alabama into Georgia and connected to the Benton Mackay to the AT. And the second part of that question was who's the Pinhoti Mafia and how did that all get started, I believe is the question.
Yeah.
So I did not start the Pinhoti Mafia. I was adopted, and I'm not from Alabama. So they're like, oh, you're a Georgia boy. It's all right. We'll let you go in because part of it goes in there. Again, starts at Flag Mountain and goes into Georgia. And it consisted of Crow, Leonidas, Jabin Hikes, Stretch, and those was the key, right? The key members. And then the inductees, I was inducted, and then Gone Feral was Squidly, and then you had Terry Young recently join us as well. Terry had done a section of the Alabama side. He actually came out to Pinhoti Fest, and he's been following the channels. And again, we were like, hey, let's join us for a couple hikes, and I guess he got adopted as well. So congratulations to Terry Young. I'm dropping your name way too much, by the way. You owe me dinner or something like that. I think that's
right.
What that links will be worth or something like that.
Everybody go to Terry Young Outdoors and like and subscribe.
Yeah. Check
So
'em out.
before we get to the subway story, the Pine Mountain Trail story, I got one more story. I'm just going to tease these guys. So one more story, so living in Georgia, hiking in Georgia all the time, I'm sure you've seen your share of bears, right?
Yes, I have seen it.
So there's a bear story that you've told to me, and you've seen it. And then at the end of the trail, you went to warn some fellas about it. You know which one I'm talking about?
I do. I have two
Please.
funny stories
tell that.
about bears, but I'll tell that story first and then the funny story
Okay.
afterwards. All right, so as we've all been out on the out in the mountains, when you're out there, your cell phone dies and you lose reception, right? So I've been hiking. I was going in from Hogpen Gap over into Unicoi, and this is an area where you're not going to have cell phone receptions. And you're out there and you're trekking along, and I'm sure Carlson can tell you when you're going up Blue Mountain, it's just a sea of rocks. It's not very comfortable. Your mind's racked. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is grueling. And I did that section in a day, no big deal. But I was kind of beat and kind of worn down. So as I got over the mountain and I'm going down the backside of it, my phone starts dinging. I'm looking through emails, like, oh, I got an email on my Facebook. I'll like that, whatever. Looking down at my phone. And then I look up, and about 30 feet away from me was a bear standing on his back 2 feet, just like,
oh my God.
I screamed the hell, my truck pulls up, and I was banging them as loud as I could, like swinging around, like, no, goodness. So I was worried that the little cub would come up behind me or something like that. So I was like, I don't want any bears around me, because at that close, I was like, he's already going to eat my face. He's gonna eat my face, And then I was worried there was a cub there, so I start running down the hill. I'm like, oh, please, bear, go away, bear. And then so I run into the trailhead, and I see these two hillbillies sitting up on top of the sign, a little rock there at Unicoi, a little sign on it. And I was like, hey guys, listen, there's a bear over there. So if you're going up that way, you definitely don't want to go that way. Oh, no, man, I ain't scared of no bear. I was like, well, I am. I was like, so I'm letting you know that there's a bear that was standing on his feet. I scared him off. He ran up the hill as soon as I started screaming like a little girl. He ran up the hill, and he just took off. And I was like, you may come back, so be careful. Like, I ain't scared of no bear. I'll just shoot at it. And I was like, well, I ain't got a gun. He was like, well, I do. And he pulls out a gun. I was like,
wave your sticks again.
Let me go. So in the video I did of that section, actually has me sitting in the car, because normally I'm like, oh, if you found any value in this video, please like. I was like, I'm not going to do this here. I'm getting in my car. I'm getting out of here as fast as I can. So I jumped in my car and did that. If you found any value in this video, please like, but subscribe my channel.
That's awesome.
That's the story about the bear. I saw one on trail. Now, the other one is hilarious, because I was hiking with my wife, and we had gone up from Unicoi up to Rocky Mountain, and we're out there. It was hot. Not a really popular section hike, because there's not a lot of people out there, because it's difficult. As you, Carlson, again, can tell you, you go in and out of a trail, it's straight down and straight up. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna have a little walk in the park. It's like, oh God, I hate the first half of the miles. Oh my God. So we get up to the top. There we haven't seen anybody. Great views. We're walking along. And my wife yells ahead. She goes, oh my God, there's bears out here. And I was like, nah, man, there ain't no bears. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, there's bear poop right over here, and you need to come look at it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna look at bear poop. I was like, whatever. Came over there and looked at it, and it was just this big old pile. Like, I was like, oh my God. I was like, man, it looks like there's a bunch of carrots in there. I was like, where the hell did the bear get some carrots from? And I start looking around, and I see all this toilet paper, and I was all like, man, people are not leaving no trace. And I was like, oh. But right before that, I had remembered that we had ran into this old lady, and this old lady was like in a hurry. And I was like, there's nobody out there. This old lady comes by, and she says like, okay, bye, have a nice day. And I was like, wow, that's really random. And as we kept on hiking, then my wife screams this, and it, bing. And I like turned around and looked at my wife. I was like, honey, unless it's the Charmin bear, this ain't bear poop. It was that lady that was hightailing it out of here, because we walked up on her. So that rustling in the bushes, that was her trying to get away from us.
Lady taking a dump on the trail.
Could you imagine seeing an older lady? Like, I mean, I understand it happens to all of us. You get that rumble in the jungle. I gotta go. But we got trials. We figured this out. It's happened to us. For those that weren't prepared, especially if you ate a bunch of carrots, it looked like she ate the whole 2 pounds, maybe 5 pounds of carrots. It was like neon orange. I was like, oh my God, this bear is like highly organic.
This is a healthy bear.
This is a healthy bear. I was like, it ain't going to steal your picnic bag. It ain't going to steal your Subway. It's going to steal your carrots.
Oh, that's fantastic.
to tell you how naive I was on that whole section you're talking about. I started at Bull's Gap, like after you get through Neil's Gap that day. Went Bull's Gap, then I think that's where I started at. Anyways, I ended up doing Blue Mountain. When I got to Blue Mountain Shelter, I had 13 miles in for the day. Then that's where we ran into that guy that had the AR-15 and everything. And we're all like, nah, we're not staying here. Went down Unicoi, up over Rocky Top, back down, and then a third of the way up Trey Mountain and stayed at the cheese factory. All that in one day, 19-mile a day. I was like, what did I just do to myself?
And Trey Mountain's probably where you were like, I'm putting the bike down here. This isn't even worth it. I'm not going. That's crazy right there, too.
Well, dude, I started my day like a third of the way up Trey Mountain. And I went from Trey Mountain to Dix Creek Gap. That was my last day. So, yeah.
That's
dumb.
intense. Oh, my gosh.
But were you taking along with you Subway?
Oh, yeah.
No. So there wasn't a Subway there. I don't think I had that for a few days. But so this brings us to the Pine Mountain. Yeah, the Pine Mountain Subway in Georgia. Everybody's asking for it. So tell us about the Subway in Pine Mountain and if you are or are not allowed back in it.
Oh, wow. So, there's a little bit of a segue into this. So in December, I got super sick. I've been sick for like 3 weeks. It was like the super flu or whatever. I don't know what it was. All I know is I couldn't leave my house. Christmas was canceled, and I couldn't go hiking. And I ran through almost all of my content. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so behind the 8 ball. Well, it turns out Senior Hiker 77 invites me down to the Pine Mountain Trail. He's like, hey, man, Crow, Terry, Squidly, they're going to be down here. I'm going to bring Atypical Hiker. We're all going. I was like, that's funny. They didn't even invite me. I was like, that's not cool, man. I was like, why did they invite me? You getting invited? I'm not getting invited. So I go down there. I drive down, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do a New Year's Eve. That's when they did this. A New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. So it's a New Year's hike. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I'll meet you at Foxden Cove. And he's like, no, well, Atypical, he forgot his trekking pole, so why don't you just meet us at the KFC and that Subway where you like to go? I was like, yeah, I love Subway. And for those that have been watching my channel, if I do an overnighter or I'm going to do the first day, I'm going to probably pack some food in. Like, Jason, I backpack with Jason. He likes to take the first leftovers from the night before, heat it up on trail. Why not, right?
First night steak, yep.
So I've got a Subway. I like to get a foot long, normally a cold cut combo. I don't want to spend too much money. It used to be $5 foot long. Now it's like, used to be $5 foot long. Now it's like $8, whatever. The point is, so I stop in the one in Pine Mountain all the time. So I was like, yeah, let's stop there. I'll get a sub. We'll go into the campsite. It's going to be awesome. So when I pull up, Senior Hiker's sitting there with Atypical in the parking lot. They get out. And I'm like, what's up? Now, again, we're hikers, and if you think about how we look to non-hikers, even though you might be wearing gear, they don't know it's gear. It looks kind of mismatched, like, you got a neon jacket and, brown shirt. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, this is really good hiking gear. Like, yeah, but you look like you just came from the thrift store. So we might have looked a little vagrant-y, right? So we're out there hanging out in front of Subway. I can see the lady inside staring at me like, I hope they don't come in here. They ain't going to come in here. I don't want them to come in here. It's New Year's Day. I was up all night. I was like, man, this lady's staring at us. I was like, whatever. I'm going to go inside. I got to pee. So I go to the bathroom, go inside the store. I'm going towards the bathroom, and the lady's like, hey, bathrooms are for customers only. And I was all like, she's profiling. I was like, I'm going to buy a sub, I was like, I can't believe this. And I was like, all right, lady, I would like to have a cold cut combo. And she goes, I'm busy. Can't you see I'm making bread? I was like, you didn't want me to go to the bathroom. You told me it's for customers only. Now I'm over here trying to order a sandwich, and you're telling me you're busy. She's like, yeah, I got to make this bread, and I got to do some other stuff, and I'll be right with you. And I was like, but can I go to the bathroom? She's like, no. And I was all like, you look like you're on drugs. That's the first thing that came to my mind, because I was like, she wasn't making sense. And I was like, she just profiled me, and things aren't making sense. And she looks like she's on drugs. You on drugs? And she's like, I'm not on drugs. I was like, you look like it, and you're acting like it. I was like, if I accuse someone of being on drugs and you act like that, you on drugs. She was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to call the sheriff. I'm going to call the sheriff right now. I was like, For what? She's like, get out of my store. Well, I'm going to call. I was like, you already said you're calling the cops, so call the cops. And as I'm walking out, Atypical's filming. It's like, oh, you in trouble now.
World star.
Talking like that. And I was like, oh, see, you sound like it. You said, and she's like, you attacked me. I was like, I attacked you? I was like, I'm sitting here trying to get a sub, and you're telling me I attacked. I was like, this is ridiculous. So then I walk out, and she's like, come on, man, forget it. Let's go to KFC. I was like, I hate KFC. I don't want KFC. I want Subway, man. I want Subway so bad. And it's like, well, just forget about it. It's not going to happen. So then we go over, and I was just, sure enough, cop pulls in. And I was all like, uh-oh, here we go. And I had sunglasses on. So the first thing I knew to do was take my sunglasses. But I didn't do it until the moment was right. He walks up, and I looked him in the face. I said, look me in the face, sir. And he goes, whoa. And I was like, I am going to tell you a story that's going to blow your mind. That lady in there just called you because she told me not to go to the bathroom and then didn't want to serve me because I wasn't a customer yet. And I was trying to be a customer. And then she got mad because she didn't want to serve me. And I said she looked on drugs. And I was like, if you look her in the eyes, she looks like she's on drugs. So then he walks in there. The first thing he said to me was, well, it's not like she's driving around or anything. And I was all like,
yeah, just serving the public and food.
What do you mean? I was like, this is the weirdest thing. She's not making sense. She's calling you on me, and I didn't do anything. I'm looking you in the eyes just like right now. I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm telling you the story. So he goes in there, and he goes, all right, she says she has Tourette's. And I was like, what? I was like, you're trained to look at cop. Look at it there. Well, she didn't look like it to me, and she says she has Tourette's. So sometimes that causes her to be a little cussy. And I was like,
that's kind of genius if you think about that, though. Her saying that.
I had no idea. And I was like, and then I think Senior was like, well, can you go in there and get another sandwich? He's like, absolutely not. She has filed a police report and said you can't come inside the store because that's her right. And I was all like, so I don't get my Subway? He said, not today. I was like, oh man, I'm mad because I'm like, I gotta eat ramen noodles. All of my noodles tonight, and all I have is noodles. I was like, oh, this is bad. And they're like, oh, let's do some KFC. I was like, I'm not eating fried chicken before I go jump on it because anybody knows what goes in.
You want that?
It's got to come. And if you have greasy food going in, it's going to fly out the back. That's the way it works. You're just lubing it up. Like,
deeper cat holes with it is.
And the thing is we're at KFC.
Deeper cat hole.
And Atypical, they end up eating a bunch of chicken tenders. They even got an extra portion. I was like, oh, you guys would hate it. So anyway, we get to the trailhead, and Squidly called, and Squidly said, hey, can you pick me up? I'm not going to be able to do this portion or whatever. So he went to go pick him up, and they came back and we're going to go in town and get some food. I was like, hey, Squidly, do me a favor. I was like, can you do me a favor? He's like, what's that? I was like, can you go in that Subway and get me a Subway? He's like, yeah. I gave him some money. He went into town. He got the Subway, and he got back. He was like, you know what would have been funny? And I was like, what's that, Squidly? He was like, after I got that sub, I should have asked, like, hey, was there a guy in here earlier that caused a scene that you had to call the cops on? That you had, yeah. Well, you still made a sandwich. Bye.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sandwich on here, you made it for him anyway. Have a nice day.
It's so good.
Oh.
So I still got my Subway, and it was delicious. So Subway, if you're watching this, work on your customer service skills. Don't profile hikers. We love Subway. Your customer service skills horrible.
Gosh.
That's fantastic.
Oh, good times. So there you guys go. The Subway story.
There's your Subway story.
In the end, Andy won.
Yeah.
This might be a good time. If you guys have any questions for Andy, type all caps questions. If you have any, so this might be a good time to do that. We're wrapping it up here in a little bit, but yeah. So anything you want to ask Andy, type it in.
Make sure you guys, if there's anybody listening to this, go give Andy some love. Go give him a like, give him a share, give him a comment. He does respond. So
yeah, and if you're listening to this on audio, go over to YouTube. Just type in Metro on the Move, search for his channel, and give him a sub. Tell him CNC sent you, not Music Factory, but us.
Let's see.
I got the power.
Right. Absolutely, man. Well, man, Andy, it's been great catching up with you tonight. It's been too long. Hopefully we can work things out for the AT. Keep me informed on that, how your schedule rolls. I told you what I've kind of got set up. So,
and that Red River Gorge 3 coming.
Oh my goodness. But I do have a request. If we do Red River Gorge 3, I want there to be a random date selector that's only given it out publicly if you win a lottery kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well,
And,
I know where you're going with that.
So that way we know, like, if you won the lottery, right, so you got the information, you won the lottery, right? So there's a way to win the lottery to get the information, but you have to win the lottery.
That's right.
I got you, bro. There's a question, Chris. Pop it up.
I do a giveaway for a spot.
Ooh.
Huh? Do that comment picker thing?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Andy's like, I don't know. That could go wrong. There's a question, Chris. Put it up on the screen.
Where is it? Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, Cash Max. What's going on, my friend? So let's go offline on that, but let's talk about Cash Max real quick. He's obviously been doing some sections of the AT. I particularly saw his Virginia section. Great videos. But also, if you're looking for stuff out west, make sure you check out Cash Max Trail Time. Love his channel. I watch it pretty religiously. And again, you know, he goes to some places that maybe none of us will ever see. So I think it's kind of a good spot to check out, especially if you're trying to go out west. Make sure you check out Cash Max. But Wind Rivers, my schedule is kind of crazy right now, mainly because of work. So I think I might have hinted around some of that stuff. I'm not really sure what's going on from a scheduling perspective in terms of availability. So as long as because I work right now, it's conference season, a lot of stuff is happening, so I got to kind of be available for that, and also a lot of different in-person stuff. So let me get back to you on that. Don't say the dates or don't put it in the comments or anything like that. Let's keep that between you and I. Let's go offline, but I will get back to you on that. Any other questions, though? I mean, I would love to.
Last call for questions.
I kind of said too much, I guess. About Who is this guy? He never shuts up. Well, anyway. I do have one more thing. I have one more thing before we get off. Tomorrow, make sure you check out my video. I'm going to be doing a comparison of the original FlexTail air pump. The 2.0 just came out, and I want to show you the old one. Again, I'm not being sponsored by this by any means. I just want to show you this is what I've been using as one of my favorite luxury items. Probably all seen it. The new one just came out, and they sent me the updated version. And I won't tease you too much in terms of what I saw in the unboxing. Maybe it's too dark.
There you go. Well, I will make my decision whether or not to buy the new one based off your video.
So here it is, right? The big differences between the two, I'm going to give you a teaser, is that one is magnetic and the other is not. So the new one is kind of something that you can attach to a metal surface. So if you're using it for around the home type stuff, you could stick it on the fridge as an example, or anywhere it has a metal surface and it sticks. I think that's kind of cool, but also another difference is that it weighs a little bit more. So you're going to get penalty on that. There are some details, again, I'll cover in my video tomorrow. It drops. Make sure you keep an eye out for that. And like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you're watching this, hopefully you're watching my channel as well. I know I might be a little over the top at times.
Yeah.
But
that's a little frightening.
Right on, man. Well, Andy, I appreciate you coming on tonight. I'm glad we finally got our schedules and everybody is healthy and we're able to do this. It's always fun to hang out. Looking forward to some more trips and some more campfires to share this year. So with that, man, we're going to put you back in the green room. Everybody, please check out Metro on the Move. Give him a sub. You won't be disappointed. So you just made him go backwards. So now, always fun having Andy on, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I knew there would be no lack of conversation with that guy. He is fun to be around.
Well, and, he's got great stories, and that's part of why we do this, right? To hear everybody's stories.
And like I said, man, I was blown away. He knows the AT in that section down there as well as like you and I would know Charles C. Deem because he lives that close to it. Or actually, I think he lives closer to a lot of sections that he hikes than you and I do the Charles C. Deem. So
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's like an hour away for him. So anyways, good to have him on. So, guys, glad everybody came tonight and hung out with us. We had a blast. I would ask one thing of y'all, if you guys could after this is over, go back to the video, like it, throw a comment in there if you've got any questions.
Yeah, give us
we'll try to get them answered. Yeah, give us some interaction. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel on YouTube. If you guys are listening to this on audio, any kind of podcast, if you could follow us on Apple or Spotify, give it a review, 5-star. Hopefully you're liking what you hear. That'll help us get the channel and the show out there. We're just really wanting to push and grow it this year. It's been so much fun doing this in the last year, so we're just really hoping to continue it and have some more guests and just keep this great community going.
Hard at it, right?
Yeah, we'll try if I don't get lazy on you.
Except for March when you'll be gone, but yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, guys, with that, appreciate it all, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks a lot. Thanks more.
Oh,